It's now been exactly 2 months since the 7th of October Hamas attacks in Israel, in which 1,200 people were killed and more than 240 others were taken hostage. Well, the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says that during these last 2 months, more than 17,000 people have been killed in Israeli attacks, which have reduced vast areas of the Palestinian territory to rubble. Well, today has been another day of intense fighting in Gaza's biggest cities. It's been reported that 350 Palestinians have been killed during the course of today alone. Well, Israel says its forces killed a number of gunmen in the southern city of Khan Younis, where the main Nasser hospital is now completely full, and that includes floor space. Well, those who are managing to escape the violence across Gaza face an increasingly desperate struggle to survive. But the UN aid chief Martin Griffiths said that more humanitarian supplies could soon be able to enter Gaza.
But in Gaza, where we have trucks still crossing daily through the Rafah crossing, is at best humanitarian opportunism to try to reach through some roads which are still accessible, which haven't been mined or destroyed, to some people who can be found, where some food or some water or some other supply can be given. But it's a program of opportunism. It's erratic, it's undependable, and frankly, it's not sustainable.
Martin Griffiths at the UN speaking there. Well, let's get some more analysis. We can cross the Jordanian capital, Amman, and speak to Federico Dessi, who is the regional director for the Middle East for Handicap International, which is now known as Humanity and Inclusion. Thank you very much indeed for joining us, Federico. Just listening to what Martin Griffiths was saying there, I just wondered whether you had anything more to add and whether perhaps organizations like yours are optimistic that perhaps a bit more aid is going to be able to get through and cross the border into Gaza.
Look, the situation is really catastrophic now. It took place last week. Most international organizations have almost suspended their humanitarian assistance at the moment. Supplies are going in really insufficient quantities. And the insecurity in southern Gaza and northern Gaza forces most of aid workers to stay home or seek shelter. Most of the hospitals have been closed, and the few still operating hospitals are overwhelmed by the number of wounded people that are seeking treatment.
We're having a slight hit on the audio there. Not everything you're saying is coming through. I'll push ahead. I'm not sure if you can still hear me. I just wanted to ask you what the role of your organization, Humanity and Inclusion, is in the context of this war in Gaza. What's your role?
So we are supporting persons with disabilities, especially in shelters where they have sought safety, providing assistive devices, providing emergency rehabilitation. We are also organizing recreational and sexual support activities for children in the shelters, distributing hygiene kits, distributing wound dressing kits for people with injuries, and providing risk education safeties on the dangers of unexploded ordnance and mines.
Okay, so a huge role. And you know, a lot of people, 1.9 million people in Gaza have been displaced already. That's about 85% of the population. They've been displaced, many of them, more than once, in fact. I mean, you talk about shelters, but is there really anywhere that's safe for people to go right now in Gaza?
Honestly, nowhere is safe at the moment. I mean, these shelters are basically schools that have been turned into places where people sleep and hope they will not be targeted by airstrikes. But nowhere is safe. Hundreds of people are killed every day, and we have seen already thousands of people wounded over the past week. And there is no way this massive use of explosive weapons can continue without having a catastrophic impact on the civilians and on the infrastructures. And the pictures you're showing speak for themselves. We need a ceasefire. We need a durable ceasefire so that people can be safe and that the humanitarian agencies like us can deliver assistance at scale and help them rebuild their lives.
Before going on air, I was reading your profile. I mean, you've had many years of experience of dealing with these kinds of conflicts. But I mean, have you ever seen a humanitarian disaster that's comparable to the one unfolding in Gaza?
No, honestly, in my career, this is the first time. I worked in the past in Syria and Iraq. I was involved in the response, in the humanitarian response after the battle in Raqqa against the Islamic State, and after the Battle of Mosul against the Islamic State. But those battles happened over the space of several months. Armies that attacked the Islamic State gave months to the civilian population to seek safety. There were camps for displaced people set in advance so that some of these people could seek safety there. And then the battles were run neighbor by neighbor in a progressive way. There were still many civilian casualties, a lot of destruction of infrastructure, but not on this scale and not in such a compressed timeline. And the people of Gaza have nowhere to go. And that's why so many people are dying every day, because nothing has been planned. And the offensive has been run so fast and so intensive that, of course, it's catastrophic.
Yeah, indeed, you make an important point. There is literally nowhere for those people to go. And just lastly, someone who's watching, who'd like to do something to help, you mentioned some of the needs on the ground. How can people help with the humanitarian situation there?
Watching, first of all, you can make donations to humanitarian agencies. Second, there are different calls and petitions for a durable ceasefire. You can participate to some of those. You can continue to be informed and spread information that's reliable and objective about what's happening. You can talk to your representatives in parliament, your politicians, and ask them to contribute to a diplomatic solution to this crisis.
Okay, well, thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us. Federico Dessi, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you so much. Good.